Hey everybody, this is Miss Graves here with your Wednesday lesson. I hope y'all find my YouTube channel. Anyways, this is the lesson on how history works. So I'm kind of just talking about the things we need to discuss before we kind of dive right into Jamestown and all of our content standards. So anyways, the first vocabulary term that you guys need to know is eras. ERAS, eras, and that is a time period that historians kind of declare. So the definition of it in the book says, historians divide history into blocks of time known as periods or eras. Just like a decade is 10 years, and just like a century is 100 years, an era is a certain amount of years that describe a certain time. So like the medieval era, the era of the Renaissance, things like that. So anyways, that's an era. Okay, the next definition y'all need to know is archaeology. Archaeology, paleontology, and anthropology are three different things. So they're all three very similar words with ology on the end of them. But archaeology is the study of the past by looking at what people have left behind. So that's like artifacts, and artifact is also a definition. Artifacts are objects that are made by people. Common artifacts include tools, pottery, weapons, and jewelry. So I know a lot of times we find like old weapons, Indian spears, things like that. You can find that. And then paleontology also looks at prehistoric times. That's where you would think of like the dinosaurs and things like that. So it says paleontologists study fossils to learn what the world was like a long time ago. Fossils, then, another definition, are the remains of plant and animal life that have been preserved from an earlier time. So like dinosaur fossils, we found a lot of those and that sort of thing. And then anthropology is the study of human culture and how it develops over time. Anthropologists also study artifacts and fossils. They also look for clues about what people valued and believed. So those are three things. So archaeology, the study of artifacts. Paleontology, you can relate that to dinosaurs. That's like bones, plants, things like that. And then anthropology, which is the study of the study of the human culture and how it has developed over time by looking at the artifacts and fossils. Shoot, I kind of got that mixed up. Okay, and then chronology. So that's another one of our definitions. And that says in the book, this is the book's definition, in studying the past, historians focus on chronology or the order of dates in which events happened. So that's almost like a timeline. And then a timeline is also one of your definitions, and it says a timeline shows events from the U.S. and or this is this timeline in the book, but it shows events in our class. It'll show events from the U.S. and world history between the years 1855 and 1870. That's just the one in the book, but that's an example of like what a timeline is. Then geography is the study of the earth and its people, places, natural surroundings, and the environment. So geography, you know what geography is. That's just the study of everything around us. So location, these are the 5 themes of geography that y'all probably already know, maybe from 7th grade. Well, I don't know if you know them from 7th grade or not, because 7th grade got cut short. But basically the 5 themes of geography, they start with location, place, human environment and interaction, movement, and region. So location is where is it? Where is the location? Where is it? Place is what is it like? So what is it like? Human environment and interaction. What is the relationship between people and their surroundings? Movement. How do people in one area affect people in other areas, and then they move over time? And then region. What common features does a certain area share? Okay, pretty simple, guys. That was not hard. All right, and then we'll also be kind of using maps and globes a little bit as we go. Maybe not a globe so much as a map. I know in some of my classes today I'm filming this on Tuesday. Some of my classes today we looked on Google Maps and stuff, and I like to do that, so we'll probably do that a lot to give y'all kind of a real life version of what you're looking at today. And then so the next thing that we're going to be seeing right here would be hemispheres, and y'all kind of know what the hemisphere is. Right now we are technically in the eastern hemisphere. The western hemisphere is over. It contains Russia, China, Europe, all that stuff. So if you look at a map, right down the center of the map, is a line, and I'm pretty sure it's called the prime meridian, but I'm blanking for some reason. It may not be the prime meridian. Oh goodness, I do that a lot. Anyways, there's that line. Let me just look that up because that will get on my nerves. That line, I think that's the prime meridian. Yes, okay. Whew. So the prime meridian divides everything up. And actually, I wonder if I can, this is kind of embarrassing. Whoops. Okay. I don't know if you can see it. Okay, you see that? You see that? Oh gosh, I'm on the way. Okay, you see this? This is the prime meridian. This line right here. This is us over here. This is the Western Hemisphere. So Eastern Hemisphere, Western Hemisphere. Okay? So that's what that is. Those are hemispheres. Sorry, that was kind of all over the place. Oh gosh. So the prime meridian is that line that divides us in hemispheres, okay? Actually, let me see. Everything, yeah. Okay, and then we have lines of latitude and longitude, which circle the planet and go down in lines, and that's how we pinpoint exact locations. So latitude are parallel to the equator, so they run horizontally, and you can think of lat as flat, and then longitude runs up and down, and you can think of longitude, kind of like that. So anyways, that's an easier way to see it. And then projections. So the word projections means ways of showing the earth on a flat screen or a flat sheet of paper. Each kind of projection shows the earth's surface in a slightly different way. So there's several projections that you can look at. There's one called the Goods Interrupted Equal Area projection. Latitude and longitude is a projection. Mercator, I'm not pronouncing that right, Mercator projection, and that's the one that we look at the most, is the Mercator projection. That's the one I just showed you guys. The Robinson projection, we look at that one quite a bit. Actually, the one I just showed you guys is the Robinson projection because it's globed, kind of circular. The Mercator projection is flat and it's square. And then the Winkel-Tripel projection, and we don't see that one as much, okay? Types of maps. Oh gosh, just got a notification. Okay, so types of maps. There are physical maps that show land and water. So physical maps is a term. Political maps show the names and boundaries of countries. We probably won't look at too many political maps. Actually, we'll probably look at the equal amount of physical maps and political maps because we'll need to know for colonies and that sort of thing. And then there's special purpose maps, and they usually show themes or patterns such as climate, natural resources, or population. And actually, those are the ones we won't look at the most. We will look at physical maps, and actually we'll be looking at quite a bit of political maps. I didn't realize that. I got those two mixed up. So political maps is what we'll be looking at the most. Then there's a map scale, and a map scale is a measuring line that tells you the distances represented on the map. So sometimes on a map, it'll give like a little like line at the bottom and say, this represents 500 miles. That's a map scale. Then your cardinal directions, that's a definition. So that's north, south, this is my east, and west. So, it may be the opposite on your screen, but east and west. So, yep. And then you also need to know the term sources. And sources, you probably know what a source is. You get it for like a paper and stuff. Sources consist of letters, diaries, speeches, anything like that. Pictures can be a source. Now to get into sources more in depth, you have primary and secondary sources. So primary sources are first-hand pieces. So primary is first-hand. They're pieces of evidence from people who saw or experienced the events described. So primary sources would be like somebody's journal or a diary, like that they have written down what they have seen or what they've felt or witnessed or anything like that. That's a primary source. Let me see if there's anything in here that will help you. Oh, okay. So primary sources include written documents such as letters, diaries, and official records. Literature or artwork from a particular time and place is also a primary source. So if there is artwork from the Renaissance, that would be considered a primary source because it is from the Renaissance. Spoken interviews and objects such as photos, tools, and clothing are also primary sources. So if they came from that time or if they were of that time, they are a primary source. Then, and in your book, so on Clever, it'll show you a list of examples of primary sources and secondary sources. Secondary sources are created after the event has already happened. So that would be like somebody writing a biography about me, and whenever I'm dead, hopefully in 100 years. Be a little shorter than that, I'm sure. But anyway, so that's a secondary source. An example of a secondary source would include biographies, history books, and textbooks. So what I have right here. Okay, a point of view, that's pretty, you guys know what that is. A point of view is a general attitude about people in life. So you have a certain point of view, I probably have a certain point of view. So that's a definition. You need to know that. Bias. This is an important one because history is all about bias. If you do not make sure that you have to make sure that you're not biased in history, because history, if you are biased in telling history, then that changes history as you tell it. So sometimes a writer's point of view is expressed as a bias or an unreasoned judgment about a person or events. So you can't really let your feelings or anything affect the way you tell history, just because history happened a certain way, and bias will only mess it up. Whew, okay. Understanding cause and effect. Cause and effect are big history terms. So you want to know what causes an event. Then you want to know the result of that cause, which would be known as the effect, and you guys know that. And while looking at historical changes, historians also search for continuity. Continuity is a definition in this, and that's an unbroken pattern in history. So unbroken patterns in history, an example of this would be traditions or concerns that link people across time and place. For example, immigration continues to affect life in the United States today, much as though it has affected the country's history. So immigration affects us today just as it affected people 50 years ago. Immigration is still affecting people. Okay, the next definition is ambiguous, and that means not very clear to interpret, so that means it's kind of hard to understand. And then credentials. So I think we're getting to kind of the end here. Maybe not. Goodness gracious. Okay. I think we're getting to the end. Okay, so credentials. That is evidence that they are experts. So like whenever I sign on my email, I say 8th, 7th, and 8th grade history teacher, or like for my Tennessee Tech email, because that's where I went to school, I would say Jenna Graves with a Bachelor of Science in History. So that I have credentials that I am technically an expert in history, that sort of thing. Okay, and then you need to know URL endings. So a URL that ends in .gov, so .gov, is most likely a government entity. So if it ends in .gov, then it's probably super important. A URL that ends in .edu is usually a site for educational institution. So that's good. And then nonprofit organizations, so like Sumner County Schools, they use .org at the end of their URLs, and they're pretty accurate. We all know what plagiarism is. I hope y'all don't do that, but that's another one of our definitions. And plagiarism is to present the ideas or words of another person as your own without offering credit to that source. So sometimes it's really easy to even plagiarize and not even realize it. Just if you think that you're using somebody else's information and you're not quite sure if you have permission, or if you don't have permission, you just need to make sure you cite properly in writing papers and that sort of thing. All right, guys. Well, I'm sorry that was so long, but that is how history works. Those are our definitions. We'll probably hit those a little bit in class on on Thursday and Friday. So come ready to know those. I'm posting this tonight for tomorrow, so I hope that y'all see it tomorrow. It's only probably going to be around a 15-minute video. Then we have Jamestown. More of Jamestown. So You guys have a great day, great rest of your day, and I will look forward to see you guys soon. Bye.